Hi guys, Tamara from Quail here. I have received a lot of messages in the last 8 weeks or so regarding selective breeding, how people can go down that road from just being backyard breeders to producing something a little more special and a little more professional. So I'm going to touch on that today. I'm going to try to answer all the questions that I've been asked, and before I do that, I'd just like to say that we're going to be discussing culling today. So if that's something that upsets or offends you, don't watch the video, because it is part and parcel of improving what you've got. Culling is just part of it. So we're going to start with eggs. I'm going to start at the start. So it's not just for aesthetic purposes, although it does look very professional to have nice egg-shaped eggs and all the same weight. These are all exactly 14 grams. There's a couple of reasons for starting your selection at egg selection. For starters, odd-shaped eggs can indicate things like infection and disease in your hens. It can be traced to nutritional issues, poor bone structure, including the keel bone, which is the bone that goes from your hen's midsection down, and also stuff like shell gland defects. Basically, a nice egg-shaped egg that is uniform, good bloom, it indicates a healthy hen. So it's not just aesthetics. Selection for any breeder, no matter what you're aiming for, whether it's size or colors, should start at eggs. Okay, and it's just also, I'd like to add, you cannot tell the gender of the chick by the shape of the egg. It is poor practice to select your eggs based on this myth. And that's all I'm going to say on that. Let's move on to hatching. I was asked, when do I assist a hatching egg? The answer is I don't, ever. In the absence of a major incubation malfunction where the chicks may be struggling because of a humidity issue or a temperature issue or something like that, there is no benefit to helping weak chicks hatch. If they don't hatch on their own, they don't hatch. There's no reason to risk introducing potentially weak genetics into your flock. And again, like with the egg thing, it doesn't really matter what you're aiming for, whether it be size or colors. It's still nice to have nice, strong animals in your breeding flock. Next, we're going to talk about deformities and related welfare, when to cull. You don't need to be wildly chopping heads off because of bent toes. Obviously, if a leg is poking out the wrong way or we've got missing eyes, it is a welfare issue to continue to try to persist with that chick. It's for your benefit, not theirs. It goes back to the old saying, just because you can doesn't mean you should. You don't want them in your flock for starters. They're not going to live a normal life. And if you are breeding seriously, you shouldn't have time to be wasting on chicks that aren't going to be beneficial to your program. So cull. Obviously, if it's not a welfare issue for the bird, but it's not going to be breeding stock, you can continue until processing age and process the bird or sell it as a pet or whatever. But if you're having to fix feet or correct splay legs, you need to mark them and eliminate them from your breeding program. Again, it doesn't, I'm actually sitting in a pen now which is full of culls. Culling doesn't mean killing. If in the absence of a welfare issue, they can go on to live a normal life. Just eliminate them from your breeding program. Yeah, I think I've covered everything on that. And also, a genetic deformity does not require a parent to show an issue physically. So if you've got a bird that looks perfectly good to you but is producing constant splay legs or constant bent feet, it is a genetic issue, whether the parent has it or not. Eliminate both the parent and the offspring from the program completely. Things like that can lay hidden and come out many generations down the track. So if there is a problem arise, eliminate as far back as you can and get rid of the problem. Don't persist with those as breeding birds just because you've fixed the foot or fixed the legs. It's not going to benefit anybody, and you're just going to have more problems down the track. Next is culling. The whys, the when and how. Why to cull immediately will be a welfare issue. If the animal is suffering, put them down. It doesn't matter if it upsets you. It comes down to doing the right thing by the animal. If again, like bent toes, you don't want to breed with them, but you can continue to processing age or sell them as a pet or sell them to a backyard owner who just wants a layer or whatever. You don't have to go wildly chopping heads off of perfectly good animals just because you can't breed with them. I use sharp scissors. Everybody will have a different answer on that. I find sharp kitchen shears or sharp scissors to be the quickest and most efficient. There's other reasons for culling other than deformities and welfare issues, which is obviously for eating. If you've got an aggressive bird, for aggression, I cull immediately. If I have a bird that attacks somebody, another bird, they go straight into a holding pen and culled that day. I don't screw around with that. Next, we're going to move on to weights. That was the next question was, what are the weights? In Australia, we have 3 recognised unofficial standards, which is Bantam, which starts at 86 grams to 143 grams at maturity. For them, you want to do your last weights at 10 weeks old. You don't want them to be beyond those weights, 143 grams at 10 weeks. Standards start at 170 grams to 255 grams at the maximum at 10 weeks. And for jumbos, you're looking at 286 grams on the 9th week, approaching the 10th week minimum. All lines grow differently, so what you can do your weights per week or whatever suits you. You need to take that down. You need to take your notes and figure out what rate your birds are growing at what week, so you can get your average and then aim for that. Other stuff I monitor is egg weight, growth of my babies. I have both standard lines in various colours, and I have my Sandies in the jumbo line, which is what this has come from, Sandies and Sandy Sparklies, which average 330 grams at 10 weeks, and they lay 14-gram eggs. I don't want to go any bigger than that, so that's what I've stuck with. I monitor eggs per year, general hardiness, including mortality rates from every pen. From the moment I put them in the incubator, I monitor mortality rates on everything. And I also monitor offspring, which includes the sex, colour percentages, and that kind of thing. Again, what you're aiming for will determine what you're going to monitor. That is completely individual. And the last one that was asked was line breeding versus inbreeding versus constant new introduction of bloodlines. I'm going to start at line breeding. This is what most quality breeders do. That is breeding only the best of a bloodline to only the best of the same bloodline, with the occasional introduction of completely new blood. It works the best. You know the history of your birds. You're not going to have any surprises. You can control what you're getting. You're going to have predictable percentages on everything because you already know what's going on. Inbreeding is the close breeding of relations, like father to daughter, and again, it's along the same line as line breeding, but line breeding is generally done with more distant relatives. You're going to have more problems arise if you are inbreeding without being selective. Inbreeding in poultry is safe and effective, but not if you're not being very selective. If there are hidden problems in that bloodline, they are going to come out if you're not selecting carefully. So inbreeding and line breeding are safe, but you need to do it properly. And versus constant new bloodlines being introduced into your flock, I've read of people doing that 2 or 3 times a year. Here's the thing: if you started with 450 gram birds and you are introducing new blood 3 times a year, your big line is gone within the first year. You haven't checked stats. You haven't. You don't know anything about what you're introducing, and anything that you were aiming for in the beginning is likely gone. So don't do it. There is no need to be introducing new blood constantly. There is no benefit to it, and all it'll give you is unknowns. Yeah, so there really is no benefit to it. New blood is good every now and then, every couple of years. Most serious breeders will introduce usually 1 new rooster to their own hens per pen every couple of years, and obviously take notes on everything you get. Do test batches before you go claiming them as your own, and that kind of thing. Don't just dive into new blood and expect to get exactly what you want, because it's not going to happen. So I think that covered all the questions I was asked. Again, it's you're going to get different answers from everybody. I'm just saying what myself and most of the serious breeders that I know do. It will vary according to who you ask, but yeah, I think I've covered everything. So hopefully you found this informative, and I will see you next time. I'm going to do a colour video next, because there was a whole host of questions on those as well, specifically what I look for in my colour program. So I'm going to do that in a separate video, because I could talk all day about that. So all right, see you guys.